Hello everyone, this is DieselD199 speaking. I think the live stream has started, although I'm not quite sure because it didn't prompt me to start it. Oh, look, we've got chats coming in, so it must have started now. I'm just 9 subscribers off from 1 million subs on YouTube. Um, so I figured I should log in and, just watch the counter tick over with all of you guys. It's actually really bad timing because, and I've just lost a sub, great. It's really bad timing because I've actually been a little under the weather for the last couple of days. So hopefully my voice doesn't sound too gravelly. And hopefully everyone can see and hear me okay. I haven't really... I thought I'd get an opportunity to actually test this before it suddenly went live, but no, unfortunately not. So it looks like we've got a decent amount of people here. I was really not sure how many people there would be online at this kind of time. I figure it's mostly going to be Europeans and Australians. It's not really going to be the Americans. They'll probably be asleep around about this time, I would think. So yeah, I mean, it's a really exciting time. It feels like only yesterday I was making A Decade of Madness, which is now, nearly 6 years old, joking about wanting to get the gold play button. And, I am just currently 4 subscribers off, being able to earn that gold play button. And so, it's really exciting. It's also, it's a little bittersweet in a way because, I haven't really been making a lot of content lately. And so it almost kind of feels like it's an achievement that I got in the past rather than right now. Although admittedly, the shorts, which I did earlier in the year, did bring in a big chunk of new subscribers. And we're now just 2 subscribers off. The rate has actually picked up quite a bit since I started the stream. It was, it was ticking over, one every few minutes earlier, and now it seems to have picked up a bit. So, oh, look, there we are. 1 more to go, and we're at 1, and there it is! Haha! All right, I didn't even manage to screenshot it before it went up. And we're at 1,003,000, 4, You guys have all logged into your secondary accounts now, haven't you? And it's really going up now. So, wow, okay, yeah. It's fantastic to see that number after being in the 100,000s for so long. So thank you guys all for subscribing. It really does mean a lot to me. I'm really excited to get the gold play button. I can't wait to get the email where I get to order it. I've got I'll get it down. I've got the silver play button. One of the things that kind of annoys me is it's taken me so long to get the gold play button that they've actually changed the design. They don't use this design anymore. It's not even really a button. Like this one here, where it's an actual physical piece. It's like indented into the frame or whatever. So, yeah, I have 2 different styles of play button, but that's okay. A little bit of YouTube history. Oh, thank you very much for the donation of €5, SB Tracktails, who says, thank you for bringing myself and many others so many years of entertainment. And thank you for watching. Thank you all for watching and for subscribing. I do have a video planned to celebrate. It's probably going to take about 2 more weeks to finish, I would estimate, just given my current schedule and where everything's at. But, it should be something fun and something a little different, to celebrate this milestone. In terms of the actual shorts, I have not really been working on them as of late, as a result of really the current situation on YouTube and also just the current situation with, the Thomas and Friends franchise at the moment. And I've talked about that in sort of previous live streams, and I don't really want to go over it too much here. But, I I've definitely got something coming for 1 million subs. I've got a 360 video that I would like to finish off that I started when I did my last live stream where we were building the layout. I want to do a 360-degree video on that, and so I'm hoping to get some of that sort of stuff up in the next couple of months. Oh, and now we're going backwards a few subs. But that's all right. We've managed to get over the 1 million mark. I didn't even get to screenshot it properly before the one started to roll over, so... So I actually did intend to have some music playing in the background that you guys will all recognize. And here we go. We'll start with this. Oh, I gotta close it off there though. I hope it's not too loud. If it is, let me know and I'll turn it down even further. It should just be just there in the background. Oh yeah, look, I'm now going backwards almost as fast as I was gaining them. So, look, as long as we don't go below 1 million, though, it wouldn't surprise me if people thought that would be a funny thing to do. And it looks like this has occurred on CJ Ashworth's 24th birthday. So happy birthday to you, CJ. Let me just pop out this chat. It is a little hard for me to read where it currently is. So thank you everyone who has joined me here today. Let's see if this is gonna... You guys are the lucky ones who got to share this moment with me. And I guess while I am here, and I won't be here for very long, I'm afraid, because as I said, I have been sick, so I will be logging off in a short period of time to go and have dinner and do that sort of thing. But, I'll engage with the chat for a little bit first. Let's just see what we've got. And so I've lost 5 subscribers in the last couple minutes. Yeah. Oh, and now it goes right back up again, so... Clearly, the counter is a little bit inaccurate. It's actually interesting. You guys can't even see these live numbers anymore because YouTube got rid of them, so people wouldn't have these kind of watch people's downfall parties. So the actual YouTubers themselves can pull up the live subscriber count that's sort of accurate to each number, but everyone else can only see it. I think now that I'm over 1 million, you'll only be able to see it to the nearest 10,000 or something like that. So, been watching since 2014. That is a long time, Tugster. Yeah, you certainly can, Saddle Tank number 6. You guys were all here when I hit 1 million subs. When are you going to upload a video on Tomica? So there will be a Tomica Thomas and Friends video of sorts coming out in the next couple of weeks. As for new shorts, I'm really not sure where I'm at on that and what I'm going to do next. Miraculous Miku says, I'm in the big year 12 now, doing a gap year and then going to uni to study paramedicine. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your final year, Miku. Definitely recommend taking a gap year. That was something that I did. I did it specifically to work on my YouTube channel all those years ago, and it was one of the worst performing years that I had at the time, because it was when YouTube decided that they were going to rank videos based on minutes watched instead of just on views, and it really negatively affected my channel. So, but I still recommend taking the gap year. Najib Osman, yeah, you can sort of think about the 1 million video kind of being in that vein. It's not a short, unfortunately, but it is something that I think you guys will appreciate. Oh, well done for getting into the TV industry. No Coco for Boko. What exactly are you doing, I wonder? You were watching from the start, Jack Beaton, so you've been here since 2008? It says 1 mil behind me, yeah. That is an M. Ah, yes, the big scary Thomas on the news, man. That was a very strange couple of days there. For those of you who don't like follow me on Twitter, a few months ago, there was a number of news articles written about my short where Thomas says, "I'm going to chug, I'm going to chew, I'm going to kill the lot of you." That found its way onto YouTube Kids, and some parents were quite upset by that, including one mum on TikTok who made a video about it, which then went viral on TikTok and then had these news articles written about it. And so Fox News, the Daily Mail, I think it was the New York Post, even here in Australia, I think like 7 News, and just a bunch of online newspapers had these articles that were, really they're just clickbait. They didn't really attack me personally, but it's kind of funny to see something that you made, being talked about in a Fox News article or a Daily Mail article, that sort of thing. Do I plan on making more Tomica Thomason friend shorts in future? The answer is I don't have any planned at the moment. I'm never going to be the kind of person who's going to be like, I'm absolutely never going to do that ever again. Certainly, it's not something that I'm actively working on at the moment. There is some other content that I would like to do for this channel that I have been on and off working on over the past couple of years and not really making as much progress as I would like, unfortunately. Suffice it to say, the last few years have not been as productive as I would like them to be, especially in the video space, for a number of reasons, I guess. But I definitely hope that I've got some interesting stuff to show you guys this year. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to... I don't know if anything will happen if I don't get something out this year. So yeah, it's I wish I was in better health today. I could have done sort of a more interactive and a sort of more involved live stream, but unfortunately, the way these things work out, there was something I was supposed to go to tomorrow as well, and I don't think I'm going to be doing that. So. How does it feel being the biggest Thomas YouTube channel that isn't run by a company? Yeah, so I don't know how exactly you would classify that these days. I mean, I certainly think that I'm probably the most subscribed channel that's not doing, say, like toy reviews or that sort of thing. Obviously there are like channels that have more than 1 million subs that do, I don't know, like, I mean, Toy Trains for You, for example, they do a lot of other stuff, not just Thomas. They've got millions of subs. Leo Kim, obviously, but, again, he does a lot of other content and not just Thomas. And so far as sort of doing the kind of narrative content that I do, I don't know if there's really anyone bigger than that. But I could be wrong about that. I certainly do remember a time when there were a number of channels from other creators that you guys would enjoy who I knew were in front of me that I was kind of determined to beat. But at this point, I don't think that there's really anyone with more subs than me doing the kind of stuff that I do, at least. It's certainly it's kind of weird. I do feel quite a bit of distance from 2015 when I hit 100,000 subs. I think it was. I think it was 2015. Um, but I don't feel that much distance, say, from 2017 when I did the Decade of Madness. Like, it really is kind of weird that it's been 6 years since then. Um, One of the things that you will find as you get older is the years start to roll through much faster than they do when you're younger. So, anything you wish YouTube could change right now? Asks the Thomas theorist. It's like, well, I would like for the whole um, copper situation to be resolved in a way that wasn't quite as punitive towards creators making kids content is ultimately what I would like to see change. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. It sort of occurs to me, actually, now that I'm looking at this, that my logo is perhaps covering my face. Let me just adjust where I am here. If you switch the overlays off, it shouldn't be an issue, but I should probably just disable that anyway. Could you do a video discussing the history, prehistory, and unreleased or lost content of your channel? I probably could do that sort of behind the scenes video. I mean, honestly, most of like the history, I suppose, has sort of been covered in like the Q&A series that I did nearly 10 years ago now. In terms of lost content, there is actually one video that I made in 2011. So a long time ago now, like 12 years ago, which is crazy to think about. Back in the model series era. And it was originally intended to be released while I was away in Europe for a month. And in the end, like, I never put it out. It was a music video, in fact. And I think that I may well finish it off. Like, it was all edited. But I was going to record a cover of the song. And that, I think, that would be something that would be interesting to go back to, record the cover song and put it out. I certainly know that I've got a new musician now who would be able to do the instrumental for me. You'd love to learn more of episode 2 of Tomica Thomas and Friends. So there is actually some footage from that. What year was that? It would have been... There is, in fact, some footage from it. A very small amount, though. I think there's like a couple of clips. And I'm not sure about... I know that there is a physical script somewhere. I'm looking in the folder now, and there's not a digital script in there for some reason. But it is probably around there. So maybe what I can do is perhaps bring that video up. Actually, maybe I'll do a behind the scenes video and put it in there, but because I don't know if I'm going to be able to work out how to do this live. Yeah, it's crazy to think that the Kids' Choice Awards thing was 8 years ago. Well, Lysander, you're certainly very much onto it. That was definitely, I think, what that episode was going to be. There is a script somewhere, but but I'd have to go digging to find it. Um, if you ever decide to model Duck, would you bring back Possessed Duck? Maybe. I think that I would probably want to do a like totally different kind of monster. Um, so there's all sorts of like I was thinking a couple years ago that I should do like a there's Siren Head, so I should do like I don't know, Whistle Head or something like that. Like a Thomas parody on that. And I'm sure that there is some, I think it's SCP or whatever thing out at the moment that's really popular that I could do a parody of. How did you end up on the Kids' Choice Awards, if you don't mind me asking? So I was only on the Australian version. I think that people get this confused, right? Like, I was not on the American Kids' Choice Awards. Was not on the American Kids' Choice Awards. I was on the Australian version of it, right? So basically, the way it works, the way it worked at the time, as it was explained to me, is when they do the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards broadcast in Australia, there are these pre-recorded segments that are Australian themed that get inserted into the American broadcast, and that is done all over the world. So I'm sure there's like a German version and a UK version, and so Australian viewers see the American awards, and then they also see like a localized Australian awards as well during the broadcast. You sure can, Lysander. You could do a parody of Choo Choo Charles. Yeah, now that's something that I've also thought about doing. I think I could definitely do something for that. Um, it would be right up my alley, would it not? So, would you like some coffee, anyone? I could use a coffee, actually. Um, any old Thomas content creators you miss? It's an interesting question. I think the content creator that I am sort of the most nostalgic about is probably Train Lover 476. Um, there's also Miss Oliver and Blossom, Captain Punjab. I sort of remember. This is going way, way back, of course. The funny thing is that like I would have told this story before. I actually started making Thomas and Friends content without having seen anyone else making it. I wasn't inspired by anyone directly. I was inspired to put it on YouTube, but I actually started making content because I was interested in film and I wanted to be able to make some videos by myself. And Lego stop motion is, really slow to do. And so my youngest brother at the time was into Thomas, and I had been into Thomas a lot as a kid. And so I thought that would be that was something I could do by myself, and then I sort of found that there was this older Thomas fan base online, and that people were putting videos on YouTube, and that's really how I got started uploading them. The first video I actually made was 2006, and then the first year that I uploaded was 2008. Ever thought about doing other types of Thomas content, such as trains, wooden railway, etc.? I wouldn't want to do trains, that's for sure. I am a bit snooty about trains content because my view has always been that it sort of always looks the same. Um, I remember working on TTA community channel stuff, and like when you had the same creators coming back time and time again, I could always pick out people's content when it was like live action filmed or whatever, or it was a unique style of animation, but I could never tell the difference between like the trains content. And I like my stuff to stand out. I wouldn't really want to do trains. I I have thought about it would be so much easier if like I switched to making all of my content with like wooden railway models, because of course they're much simpler to model in the computer, right? They're way less geometrically complex. Um, you could model a probably multiple characters in a day. You could at least you can at least model one character and texture it and everything, and then maybe take a couple of days to do the face and rig all of that. But yeah, there's so much easier to do that I would. I thought it would be great if I switched. But of course, then you've got to decide. I mean, which era of wooden railway do you want to model? And I'd have to buy some of the stuff for reference. So. Can I make Spider Oliver Fallout? I think that is a bit gory for what I would want to put on my channel. How long does a short take from idea to upload? I mean, it varies, you know. Sometimes it's like I can do it in a couple of weeks. And sometimes, if I have all of the assets, I don't have to make anything, and I'm really going to work hard at it, then yeah, I can do it in a couple of weeks. But if it's something that requires a whole bunch of new stuff, then it might take a couple of months sort of to get through. You ever going to bring back the TTA community channel? No. I think that one is definitely done. It would be nice to do, but I certainly don't have the interest in doing it anymore. So, I mean, that channel's nearly 10 years old. That'll be 10 years next year, I think. And it was a great little project at the time. The funny thing is that when we first started doing it was when YouTube was like constantly updating its user interface, and so it was stuffing around with the tutorials that I made for it. And now it's like, I feel like the interface has been really stable for a long time. So we'll do a new TTA community channel project. I'll redo all the tutorials, and then suddenly they'll update the interface again, and it won't really work. It is 10 years old. Was it a 2013 thing? It may well have been. Would you go to New Zealand? Yeah, I certainly would go to New Zealand. Which Australian city do you think has the best railway network? That is a good question. I would not be enough of an expert to really know. My city of Perth actually has a pretty decent railway network. It's not quite as extensive as Melbourne or Sydney's, but Perth has a much smaller population, so it certainly, I think, is a bit more reliable than Sydney's railway network. Melbourne obviously has like a crazy like tram network on top of the actual broad gauge network, so I'm not really sure how you would assess it. Trent, you are streaming pretty late. Not for me. No, it's only 5:45 p.m. here. It's actually quite a reasonable time. I suppose this could have happened, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, or something horrendous like that, which would have been very annoying for me. But what's a video idea you wanted to make but couldn't make due to limitations? That is an interesting question. I think there are probably a handful of videos that I've thought about over the years. I'd have to really sort of dig through scripts. The beauty about CGI is the only limitation really is how much effort you're willing to put into it to get it to completion. Certainly, I do have an idea for a video that I still may even do one day, but it would require a lot of human animation, and I don't mean like the minifigs. I mean like animating a proper person, which is just another is a lot more complicated than animating a train or the minifigs as I do. I could definitely do it. It would just take a lot of time, and it might be worth even looking at doing motion capture, for it if possible. But even then, for the idea that I have, I don't even really know if motion capture would be suitable, because of the way in which the person actually has to interact with stuff. So. I've actually been playing a little bit more pool as of late, blue 65 tank, so I'll be glad to give you a rematch. Which animated and model short took the longest to make? That's an interesting question. I really don't know off the top of my head. I think probably they're short 36. I think Trick or Treat is the longest. It's like 17 minutes long, so that probably took the most amount of time to make, I have to imagine, by a long shot. And it was also very highly edited too. In terms of the animated shorts, I really couldn't tell you off the top of my head which one took the longest. Probably the first one. How would you end the shorts? I'm actually quite happy for Percy and the Beast to be the final short. It's a good short, it's very much, it's done really well. It's very popular. It's very much in the vein of the shorts that I made, in the CGI era. It's a parody of the show. It's a parody of fan content. It's got that spooky Halloween aspect to it. It's very much the kind of content that I enjoyed making the most. Someone asked about limitations and shorts that I hadn't made. One of the things that is more common is not making shorts because of limitations. It's cutting scenes so that I can finish something. So, for example, Percy and the Beast, there was supposed to be an opening to that where you saw the explosion happen from a bunch of different characters' perspectives. So Edward, obviously, and Gordon and that sort of thing in this kind of trippy, slow motion sort of music video type thing. That was written in the script, but in the end, I think it was a Halloween video. It came out in December, and it was just not practical to do that. And so I did a shorter intro where there is the explosion, and the titles burst instead. Thomas is supposed to see the explosion and say, "Oh no, my uranium supply!" Right, that was the joke in it. The Magic Railroad Mayhem. There was an opening scene in that was set, near the magic buffers. We started parodying it, right as Thomas and Lady come out of off the Magic Railroad, I guess. But it required building that set. It required splatter and dodge. It required a bunch of other human characters like Mr. Conductor and Junior and all that sort of stuff. And so in the end, I didn't have the time to do it. And so it was just cut. And we just started partway through the race. Probably was beneficial in terms of the YouTube algorithm to start during the race, because it was sort of like a slower dialogue scene that then built up to the actual race. So, I mean, it probably was the right decision just in terms of, YouTube metrics. But yeah, stuff like that. There was a post-credit scene type thing that was supposed to be in Unstoppable, for instance, where Thomas goes to get the breakdown train. He's like, "Oh, they have faces now," and then I can't even remember what exactly it was. It was like Henrietta appeared with her face, but of course that involved making the breakdown train, making Henrietta. Just didn't really have the time to do it. So those are some examples of just content that was written into the script. But because it required like making so much additional stuff very short or like not really sort of valuable, I guess, in terms of like the actual story that was being told in the short. It just had to be cut. Why you got the Weird Al hair? So it's it gets a bit. I've actually had a shower, so it's like it's not quite as, how I would like it to look. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been doing something different with my hair, growing it out, because why not? You know, who knows? I get old, I may lose it all, so I might as well experiment with it while I've got it. Should definitely make a 20 to 30 minute special. I would love to be in a position to make a 20 to 30 minute special. I have an idea for the Thomas and Friends movie, right? Like I've had that for years. Like if I was gonna do a movie, what would I do? It admittedly would not be as relevant today as it was when I first envisioned it. But yes, I mean I've certainly got an idea for what I would do for that. But again, I'd probably have to write something that could easily be broken into 5 minute chunks and release them one 5 minute chunk at a time, and then at the end put it all together. Yeah, Thomas Theorist, there. I certainly did envision doing that kind of short before, where you could sort of go from the CGI to the model world, but I don't know if that's ever really going to happen. It was more relevant when I originally envisioned it because it was going to involve Trackmaster 2. Yeah, I've certainly thought about getting modelers or animators, Diesel D261. Um, Certainly, there are a lot of people in the community now who would be able to do things. Um, it would. It's definitely something I should explore more, I think. But it's like for me, it's always been a question of like, I sort of want to pay people fairly for the work that they do, but then when I start paying people fairly, it gets expensive really quickly because animation takes a long time to do. Um, I guess people can just quote me what they think is fair or what they want to do and that sort of thing. But yeah, it gets expensive pretty quickly if you start like if you try and pay people minimum wage by the hour. It's gonna blow out in cost pretty quickly. So, oh, thank you, Diesel D261. I appreciate you saying that. I certainly do think I do get the impression that I when I switched to like CGI. I mean, obviously people were making 3D models before that because people were making stuff for trains, but I felt like there was like quite a big growth in people doing that thereafter. I think it just sort of, people sort of became aware of, I guess, CGI and that anyone could kind of do it, not just, the official show in a way that they weren't beforehand. Um, so I'd be curious, to hear from anyone else, whether or not I inspired them to switch to CGI. I mean, I've been doing it so long, though, that a lot of them probably aren't even in the community anymore. I know there are some specific creators in mind that just aren't even in the community anymore who I know I sort of inspired to do CGI. How'd you make the Slender engine? Oh, it's just Donald or Douglas with a bit of black tape over the name tag and Neville's tender. I originally wanted the Slender engine to be Neville, but I couldn't because of the way he's made. You couldn't take the face off without like you'd have to like really heat up the plastic shell until the glue that holds the two sections of the smoke box together failed, and then unscrew the face. Are you ever going to do an AI short? Yeah, I thought about. Wouldn't it be funny to do something AI based? But I think if anything, my James voice is probably based on Train Lover 476's original James voice. I suspect that's the case. I know the Toby voice certainly was based on Train Boy 7's Toby. What's your favorite steam locomotive? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to pick, like a West Australian one. I'd have to pick the West Australian Government Railways S class probably or something like that. 3801's a pretty spectacular looking locomotive. I really do wonder what the future of fan content with respect to AI is gonna be in future. I mean, for a long time, it's like the Thomas fandom has traditionally been like much more involved in the creation of fan art than a lot of other fandoms that I've sort of seen on the internet. And I wonder if we get to the point with this sort of AI art where either no one really bothers to do it because it doesn't really require any talent to do, or everyone is doing it all the time, and you've just got this crazy amount of fan content from every fandom on the internet, because you can make a Star Wars movie by putting a prompt into into some AI a video generator type thing. It's certainly going to be interesting to see where AI is in a year or two's time. We are seeing very primitive examples of AI video, text to video. But the text to images were pretty primitive a few years ago. And now it's really just a question of what is the limiting factor. And it may just be hardware. That hardware is the limiting factor. We certainly don't have the kind of increases in computing power from year to year that we did historically because of the physics of, silicon chips. Basically, we've made the transistors so small now. It's my understanding that quantum mechanics now sort of comes into play, and you can't really make them any physically smaller than they already are. And so the Moore's law, which is that computer power doubles roughly every 2 years, isn't really the case anymore. And certainly, I mean, NVIDIA has made bigger and more powerful graphics cards, but they are physically bigger, right? And they consume significantly more power. And so, I'm sure that there'll be all sorts of interesting AI stuff coming out in the next couple of years, but whether it will be like full-on AI video, I don't know. It's really just a question of whether the hardware's there. I would think would be almost the limiting factor at this point. But what would be the model short you enjoyed working on the most? Probably Full Dream Ahead. Favorite Thomas characters? Either James, Duncan, or Diesel 10. Those are really up there. Oh yeah, you think I should train an AI model on my shorts? Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do that. You think the AI stuff is getting a bit out of hand? I mean, certainly it is concerning if you want to be an employed artist. I almost certainly will never do a remake of Paradise Resort. Like Emo Engines, maybe, but not Paradise Resort. In terms of lost content, there is actually an alternative episode 1 of Tomica Thomas and Friends. I have the video for it, in fact, and I have part of it was edited. I think I filmed the entire thing. Let me see. What year would it have been? I think 2007, maybe. I definitely know it's around here somewhere. There was an alternate. One second. Yeah, there was an alternate episode 1, and it was basically a New Year's Eve themed video. And I filmed the whole thing, but I wasn't able to finish it for like New Year's Eve. So in the end, I ended up doing Emo Engines instead, and it was just sort of shelved. But yeah. Will you do a narrow gauge short one day? So I did do one, but I had Sidekick Jason film it. Will I ever do a CGI one? I think probably not. Simply because, like, if I do a narrow gauge short right now, it's like, well, I need to immediately make 2 new characters minimum. And I know that, like, the narrow gauge characters are really popular amongst the older fandom. And I like them too, but nowhere near as much as some people seem to. And I think that there are a lot of other people, like my good friend Enterprising Engine 93, who do a lot of stuff that's really good with the narrow gauge characters. And so I just don't really feel the need to venture into that space. I'm quite happy to stick with, you know, the Steam Team type thing. What's the hardest model engine you made? Probably DieselD199, I think, gave me the most grief thinking about it. Simply because, like, the curve shape and then, like, making holes in curve shapes is quite difficult in 3D modeling with proper subdivision surface topology if you don't want any smoothing artifacts or any of that sort of stuff. Of course, MC 3801 Productions liked my comment about 3801. What about a return of the Slender engine? I feel like the Slender engine should definitely come back, you know. If I was to... I've said this in the past, it's like I should... If I was to do another remake of a short that was a model series short in CGI, it should probably be Slender Engine, the 8 trucks. Even though Slender is such a... I don't know, a dated meme now, I guess. Which characters are you planning to render next? Almost certainly Duck, which I kind of started in the live stream, but then I couldn't mentally do the live stream and the modeling at the same time. I have kind of a very one-track mind, and it's like I can do one thing really well. Even playing video games and talking on a live stream at the same time I find kind of difficult to do. How long does it take to make a model? Oh, you know, I can probably do the model less the face in a couple of days, or probably even one day if it's a nice simple one. But yeah, a couple of days is reasonable, and then the face usually requires a bit more work because you've got to tune all the different shape keys for the facial animation, and that takes some time. If you do splatter and dodge, will dodge be based on the Tomy or the knockoff model that you have? So they will just be directly adapted from the Diesel model that I've already made, is what they will be adapted from. All right, guys, how long have I been going for? So I think I will round this out at the hour. As you guys can tell, I'm kind of struggling to talk as much as I am. So I'll just, I'll answer a few more questions and then I will log off for the night and go have dinner. You ever going to pay off the short of Percy and the Pony? So that is a short which I actually specifically went out and bought something secondhand so I could do that short at the time, like a Trackmaster toy. And yeah, it was an issue of I didn't make it at the time because it required a big new set, like of a major location. Like it's written, I have the script for it. It required 2, possibly 3 characters, depending on how I wanted to do it, and that's ultimately why it wasn't done. Because what year did that come out? Was it 2017? I want to say, yeah. And then what happened was I moved, and one of the characters I didn't take with me to Sydney. So, yeah, I didn't have that as reference. Thank you, Tetsuneko the Railway Cat. Do you still have Trackmaster Diesel? I mean, I've got a Tomy Diesel. It's the Tomy Diesel and Duck are the oldest. Well, there's also a Percy and James, but they are the oldest Playrail items that I have. I certainly did not buy a pony, Daniel the Shunter. Can you please voice a random character from the series before you hop off?
Well, it's a little difficult for me to do that right now, so I think I'll leave it at that.
I still got all the Trackmaster models. Where will the channel be in 10 years? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it may well be in exactly the same position that it is right now. I wouldn't rule that out at the moment. Will you get Tommy Dodge so that Splodge can match? Nah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I know I have the Playrail Diesel model that I would base Splatter and Dodge on, so that's it. You know, like, I've got it. I'm not really in the business of buying any new stuff for it. I do not have the Golden Tommy Playrail Thomas, but I do have the super duper ultra rare Tommy Oliver, which has a bent wheel. So, will you do a collab? That's an interesting question. I mean, technically, the next video is kind of a collab. I mean, all of my shorts, really, most of them have been collabs as of late because I've had, Upside Now do the music, for example. So, I really should outsource more stuff, which I would like to do. And there was actually a point in time where I was quite intent on doing that, and I think it was. Certainly, I know right before the copper stuff hit, I was quite intent on doing that. And even before it, because there was this whole sort of lead up about 6 months prior to the copper stuff where there was all this uncertainty with kids' content. But yeah. Do you miss having many characters to work with in your shorts? Or do you like having a small cast? That's an interesting question. There aren't that many unique characters in Thomas and Friends in terms of like the actual substance of the character. Like there are so many just non-characters in the show because they're merchandise characters. That's the joke. They're only there so you can sell a toy, which is Thomas and Friends has always been a show that's very much driven by the merchandise sales. So it's never been that much of an issue for me to say, oh, well, we're not going to have all these random characters, like that are... And I mean, even when I was doing the shorts with the actual toys, like there weren't really that many shorts that... Like, how many characters had a short about them that are not in CGI? Like, or were a main character. So probably like Boko, Rosie, Spencer, I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, Duck and Oliver. Donald and Douglas. But those are all like really core characters anyway. There are characters that have sort of speaking roles and that sort of thing that, never had that much focus in even the model series shorts. You're welcome, Beluga. What is your original theme based on? The original theme... if I recall correctly, I sent it to a friend in high school. I sent the little ditty that plays at the start of a lot of the episodes in season one after the main theme finishes. I sent her that and said, "Can you do me something original like this?" Because that's what I used in the first couple of shorts. And she came up with the Atomica Thomas and Friends theme. Have I run out of music, or is it still going? Oh, it's still going. Oh, it is on loop. That's why. Yeah, I was like, I certainly don't have an hour worth of Atomica Thomas and Friends music, but was that playing at the moment? Oh no, it's Percy's Fickerstown special. Oh, happy 1 mil at 3 in the morning. Oh well, thank you for being up, Everglade. Will you add Knapford to your CGI series? Yeah, look. Knapford, Tidmouth, Brandon Docks, and probably a really comprehensive sort of yard set are the ones that I'm really missing. I mean, the ones I'm really missing. They are the most important locations, and I never really got around to making them. I would love to have made them, but yeah, it was just one of these things I never got really around to doing. Are you going to do more gameplay videos? I loved your Choo Choo Charles video, says Fan of Hero. Well, thank you, Fan of Hero. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I don't know if it was like a really sort of popular video. Like, I think at this point now, it's managed to get up to like 75,000 views, which is decent. But yeah, it sort of racked up the views quite slowly. So I don't know. Sometimes I think like, oh, I'd love to be a gaming YouTuber. Like one of the things for me is like I have to have a very sort of like delayed gratification thing, you know, when I make a video because it might take me say a couple months to make it. So I got to work on something for a couple of months, and only then do I get the gratification of showing it to people. And sometimes I do think it's like, oh, wouldn't it be so much better if I could just you know, if I was able to make a video every couple of days or that sort of thing. And I kind of got that with the shorts, but I do notice that a lot of people don't comment on them, and I get why, because like they're short form content, right? You just scroll right to the next video, right? You know, and of course with the copper stuff, you know, you only get those comments for the first couple of days before your content gets flagged. So, Lysander, I probably won't use your ideas. It's nothing personal. It's just like ideas are cheap, honestly. Like I have loads of ideas. It's always the execution that's difficult. And so I never have a shortage of ideas. That's not really my issue. Sometimes I have sort of been unsure about what direction I'd like to go, given where the actual show is at. But yeah, it's like ideas I have in ample supply. I have played Trains, Eric, the Useful Engine. Have you ever considered 3D printing some original assets like Vickerstown? I have. Yes, I certainly have. But I mean, what would Vickerstown? I wouldn't print because it's like 8 straight tracks long or something absurd like that. It is massive, and I wanted it to be massive. You know, I wanted to push the CGI as far as I could. But yeah, it's the amount of plastic you would need. How do you feel about your recent short getting on the news? I did talk about it earlier, Diesel. It was a little weird, but I mean, it wasn't a direct attack on me, so I didn't really mind. All right, so that's 1 hour. My voice is getting a little bit worn out. Thank you guys all for joining me here as I pass 1 million subscribers today. It's a real privilege to have been able to have so many fans for such a long period of time, and who watch my content as much as you guys do. The funny thing is if I gain subscribers in a similar proportion to the amount of views that I get that some channels do, I would have had 1 million subs a long time ago. But it's great to finally be here, and I really appreciate the support, and I appreciate you guys just tuning in now with me to watch it tick over. So thank you all for being with me. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for subscribing. Good night.